This is the Georgia Farm Monitor. Since 1966, your source for state and national agribusiness news, and features for farmers and consumers about Georgia's #1 industry, agriculture. The Georgia Farm Monitor is produced by the state's largest general farm organization, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now, here are your hosts, Ray DeLesio and Kenny Burgamy.
Hey there, so glad you could join us for our final show of 2018. I'm Ray DeLesio.
And I'm Kenny Burgamy. Today, a special show for you, our Reporter Picks, the stories we enjoyed most during 2018. Now coming up, overcoming tragedy, John Holcomb with the incredible story of how the Perry FFA chapter rose from the ashes after a barn fire sadly destroyed all their show pigs. Also on the program, urbanization and its effects on family farms. It's something this Bryan County farmer is speaking out against. What he says needs to be done in order to protect future generations.
And then later, when he is not troubleshooting power lines, you'll find this man hard at work tending to his bees. Broadus Williams on how he's hoping it becomes a full-time business once he retires. These stories and so much more starting right now on the Farm Monitor. No amount of teaching can ever prepare kids for when tragedy strikes out of nowhere. FFA students in Houston County learned that life lesson firsthand, but thanks to the support of the community, things took a turn for the better. Our John Holcomb was in Perry for the team's first big show after a fire destroyed months of hard work.
Here at the Georgia National Fairgrounds in Perry, these FFA students are getting their pigs ready to show them at the Winter Pig Classic. May not seem like that big of a deal, but for these kids, it most certainly is, especially for kids that didn't even think they were going to get to show this season.
It was very hard. That's a phone call I got early that morning that can't forget. It was tough.
That phone call? News that the barn had burned down with 55 of their show pigs inside. As you can imagine, the kids were devastated. Weeks of hard work gone.
We were, a little over a month into it. The pigs had kind of become accustomed to the students, and we had gotten them on feed really good, and a really good set of pigs. And the kids were, working really hard with them every day, and just really unfortunate.
As an adult, we understand more, but trying to relate that to your child, that, the loss, that's very hard because, all these kids are compassionate in what they do. They're here for a reason. They love having these livestock. It's more than just having the animal to feed and care for. It's a bond that these kids make with these pets, and then you come out here to show off the hard work you put behind it.
But amongst that tragedy come a silver lining. Thanks to social media, it didn't take long for the news to spread. Within just a few days, people from all over the state and country were contacting wanting to help. Someone even made a GoFundMe page to help raise money for a new barn.
It was amazing the amount of people that reached to us via Facebook that they had no idea who we were. We had no idea who they were. They just wanted to help. Just agricultural folks just trying to help other people. It was, you just don't really see that in the news anymore.
We were overwhelmed at the response because honestly in the beginning I thought this is it. We've lost what we had and we'll just have to wait till next season to do this. But as phone calls and just texts and from the teachers updating us what all has been donated and had come in, overwhelmed and like I said, just thankful that we have a second opportunity to do this.
The team ended up getting all of their pigs that were lost replaced, plus some, which ended up being a sign of hope in the world these kids needed in such a hard time.
I have learned that the world is still good. There's not everybody's bad. And that, just because, we shouldn't carry it with us. We should, but it shouldn't bring us down all the time. I love my pigs, and of course I miss the other ones, but I feel like we should be happy with what we got and happy that people actually care about us.
As for the old barn, what remained has been cleaned up. The students are keeping their pigs here at the fairgrounds until the new barn is rebuilt, which, according to DECL, will be soon.
They have actually leveled out a pad for the new barn. We have specs for the new barn and drawings and plans for it, and it's going to be completed sometime this spring.
Reporting in Perry for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
All right, John, thanks so much. Meantime, in a story produced by our own Damon Jones, what started as a family getaway in 1991, Serenbe Farms in Palmetto is now a 650 resident community that features a farmer's market, horseback riding, as well as an award-winning farm-to-table restaurant. It's a taste of the rural lifestyle right outside the bustling city of Atlanta.
Serenbe is really a reaction to urban sprawl and how important it is that we have both preservation and development. Urban farms are, I think, important to have a regional food system, but also so that our kids know where food comes from. In America today, I don't think we understand the connection between our farmers, our farms, and the health we have on what we put in our bodies. And so we feel that's really important for people to better understand that connection and what the food system is. But more importantly, if you look at our blueberry bushes that we have at all of our crosswalks in Grange, it's bringing agriculture onto the street. The blueberry bushes alone have done an incredible job of connecting people with the food source. At Serenbe, we have set aside 25 acres. We have half of that or less under active cultivation. Now that supplies a CSA program for I think 100 folks. It supplies 3 restaurants. So it's amazing what you can produce with proper management of a few acres in producing food.
A lot of the time we let them grow, we see what they're growing really well. And then when at times we have requests for things, we'll say, hey, have you ever grown this before? Or how about this variety? And it also challenges him to maybe reach out of the box and find something new and different.
It can be quite the challenge. We grow anywhere between 150 and 200 different crops a year, and with that, managing fertility, pests, and crop rotation can be quite a challenge, but I kind of like a challenge, and so it suits me well. Basically, just about every week, Chef Brian comes out to the farm. We do a little 20-30 minute walkabout where we're walking around the farm and talking about what's coming right now, what's sort of coming to the end, and then what's coming in the future.
I think it's changed the way we've cooked. I bring a lot of my cooks out here and we talk about what it looks like along all the stages. A lot of the produce, you'll have one fruiting item, but what you don't realize is all the things that go along with it are maybe the flowers at the end of its cycle or the first little shoots. All those are edible.
We're able to take it direct to the farmhouse, the hill, and then the Daisy, all of the Serenbe eateries the day of harvest, as well as get everything to our CSA members the day of harvest or the day after, so that all of our produce is going direct to the mouths of those people that are actually consuming it within a 24 or 48 hour period.
Well, it really writes the menu for us, so we don't have to do a lot of sourcing. When we see what's coming up, we can get a good couple weeks ahead of time. We'll come out to the farm, we'll see what's growing in the fields, and get a little insight straight from the farmer to really find out what we're going to be putting on the menu in the next couple weeks.
I love to go into the restaurant and then just hear from a table over a server talk about my produce that's being served up to somebody that has no idea that I'm right there next to them and I grew everything that's going onto the plate. So it's very satisfying, very rewarding.
Now here's a question. Are you tired of seeing farms lost to big business or farmers forced to sell their land? Well, you're not alone. When we come back, a heartfelt story of one man's fight to protect his family legacy.
Deciding whether to buy new or used. Get in that part today, not tomorrow. Making the most of every load and every hour. The right math to make the financing work. No matter what your size, growing your operation isn't just one thing, it's a million little things. And with the right support close by, it all adds up. Your work is personal to you. As your cat dealer, we feel the same.
Did you know Georgia is one of the leading producers of pecans in the entire world? That's how hard Georgia farmers work to help cultivate the state's economy. And that's why Georgia Farm Bureau cultivates farmers with agricultural research and assistance programs and access to benefits that save families money, like home and auto insurance. You can join online for just a few bucks a year. So get cracking.
Join the Georgia Farm Bureau. Grassroots support, homegrown savings.
And we welcome you back to the Farm Monitor, our reporter favorites edition of 2018. Urbanization, housing developments, and the increasing demand for more and more distribution centers. Just some of the factors that have played a part in the number of farms that continue to shrink with each passing year. It's an issue Bryan County farmer Sean Page is passionate about. In fact, as the County Farm Bureau president and lone remaining full-time farmer in Bryan County, Page is speaking out about his love of agriculture and at times the need to just say no to change.
It's one of those things you just love to do it, you know, and it's so peaceful out there, you know, you're doing your own thing, you ain't got to worry about cars, you know, or people bothering you. Sometimes you turn the phone off, you know, and just enjoy the farm life and doing the work and watching the crops grow and you know, knowing you're doing something for the, I feel like, the betterment of the country or, you know, your community at least. And it's just really a good thing, and I just love it. It's just something that you have to love to do to be able to do it, and it's just a passion of mine, always has been. The farm was started in 1956 by my grandfather, Hewlin Page, and my grandmother, and they ran it until his passing in 2008, and she continued to run it. My daddy kind of took the lead as the operations, and the farm was still in her name, and he ran it until his passing in 2011, and then it all became my responsibility, so I took it over. It was all still hers, but I was running it, and I ran it until she decided to retire January the 1st of 2013. I thought I knew how to farm, but I didn't realize I didn't know hardly anything until it was all dumped in my lap. So I got a real quick education, and thankfully I had some very good close friends that helped me get through that first year. It was kind of like a blur, but if it hadn't been for them, we'd probably be out of business, but they got me through it, and here we are today. You have developers they're buying up agriculture land. When the land comes up for sale, they're buying it, and they're wanting to develop it into these subdivisions and put these cookie cutter homes on it. And I have one literally at the landline here. They're trying to put in several more around me. Already have put in several, and it's really a concern. I mean, I kind of see this farming operation fading through the years. You know, I want my son and my daughters to be able to do the same thing I'm doing, but I don't know if it's going to be an opportunity for them by the time they get to the age to be able to do it. I just want people to know that, you know, there's developments and all, and I know there needs to be some amount of growth everywhere. I understand that, but too much can be a bad thing in my opinion, and I want people to understand how it's affecting my livelihood. And it's going to affect my surrounding neighbors, the people that have been here for years and years, longer than I have, you know, and I just want to get that message out there so that everybody will be involved in their community and voice their opinion, because if you don't voice your opinion, nobody knows how you feel on the situation. You know, and I try to express my concerns when I can. I try to do it in a polite way, I guess you'd say, you know. I don't try to ruffle no feathers or anything, but I want people to know how I feel about something. I guess that was a trait I got from my daddy. Anybody that would know him would understand, but you know, if you don't express your concerns to our community leaders and all these people, then you're just gonna sit back and get run over, and that's not what you want. If you want things to go a certain way, you gotta help direct it that way. To take away from this story, I guess, be involved in your community. Know what's going on around you. Know your community leaders. Know how to get in contact with them. If you see something going that you think you have concerns about, voice it to them. That's what they're there for. You elect them, use them to your advantage, you know. And you're not always going to agree with them, but that's life. Nobody's going to agree on everything. So, you know, that would be my takeaway, is to be more involved and be more aware of what's going on around you.
After the break, working around electricity and bees. It's not for everyone, but for Broadus Williams, it's a way of life. His story when the Farm Monitor continues.
For Broadus Williams, a 17-year veteran of Georgia Power and troubleshooter for the company, the constant hum and buzzing of power lines has become the norm. Somewhat soothing in one sense. But like many of us, once his work is complete and the power's been restored, Broadus wants to relax and venture into his happy place. And for Broadus, that means trading in the sound of buzzing power lines for a different type of buzzing noise. The one you get when thousands of bees are working together.
Well, you know, I started years ago because I had fruit trees and my fruit trees wasn't producing. And I cleared a bunch of land off and started planting trees, and the trees were growing, and they would blossom every year, but I never got into fruit. And I started doing research like, why? And I found out that I needed bees.
And so began his passion for the busy little creatures. After buying his first hive, Broadus then joined a local bee club. He tells me that one hive turned into 9. 9 turned into 49. Today, he's not exactly sure how many beehives he has. Let's just say there's a lot of them.
I used to get the bees for my trees, and now I plant trees for the bees, or I plant for the bees.
Have you found now that it's really a second business for you?
Yeah, it's pretty much so. I do really good selling honey, and I'm selling queens. Beekeepers get involved in bees, and then they found out real fast that they need queens. They want to grow more, or they lose a queen, and then they need one really quick. So they will contact me from time to time and get queens. So it's been good. It's been good in both ways. I sell honey and I sell queens, and eventually I'll start selling bee boxes with bees in them.
Adding to that, Broadus says his long-term plan is to eventually retire and move his operation to the West Coast. For now, though, he still has some unfinished business here in Georgia. In Macon, when someone needs a house cleared of bees, Broadus is one of the experts they call. He also teaches beekeeping classes at Young Harris College. And of course, there's his main job at Georgia Power.
Well, Georgia Power seemed to think that it's pretty cool because, you know, at one time there was a lot of talk about the bees in decline. And so, you know, Georgia Power was fully aware of that. And they kind of was concerned about it as well, got involved in it. We also have bees at our headquarters in Atlanta, our main headquarters. So so that they're dedicated toward, you know, us being stewards in our neighborhood and in the community. And this is a great way to be a part of it. The biggest thing is, how do you do it? How do you do so much of this? You work full-time there, and you work full-time with your bees, and you got a family. How do you manage it all? Well, it's just me wanting to do it. You wanting to do it, you'll find the time, make time to do it. You can't take away from my family time. I have to, you know, dedicate a lot of time to that and my family, and then, you know, of course, my Christian background, you know, dedicate time to that, and then work is 8 hours or more, depending on storm situation, depending on where what's going on in the weather. And then this has been more than, it's not work, it's kind of like therapeutic, and it's fun. So when it's fun and it's therapeutic, it's not like work, you know. It's something I really enjoy. I'm doing. I think I would do it for free. It's just I get paid to do it.
In Roberta, Georgia, I'm Ray DeLessio for the Farm Monitor.
Finally this week, 2018 marked a milestone for Ranger Nick, his 100th episode here on the Monitor. 2018 was also the 100-year anniversary for John Deere tractors. And as you know, the technology has come a long way since that very first tractor rolled off the assembly line. To celebrate the occasion, Ranger Nick headed to Tifton, where he got a first-hand look at one of John Deere's latest creations.
You know, we live in a smart technology-dominated world. I've got my smartphone. Some of you have smart watches, iPads, things. All this technology helps us think and remember things better. Well, this machine and this individual are a couple of smart things as well. This is Carlton Self. Carlton, good to see you again. Carlton is the territory manager for John Deere and a former student of mine. Sure appreciate you putting up with me 6 or 7 years ago. Carlton is introducing us to some of the dealers down here in South Georgia that work with this piece of equipment to show us how smart this thing really is. Now, Carlton, what about this machine is helping farmers here in South Georgia and around the world being so smart?
Absolutely. We're going to talk about some of the building blocks of precision ag technologies, and they're things that are going to bring some real benefits back to our customers. So efficiency, cost savings, and just an overall better operator experience helps them determine some things about their farm.
And this thing is so smart. I'm going to get a chance to get up in the cab and do some driving around and see this. You are not going to believe what it can do and what it can remember. So let's hop in and check that out next. Okay, so I'm sitting inside the cab of this beautiful machine. Michael Swales is with me, as they call you, Swales. Let's just say I just purchased this thing. Brand new piece of equipment. I'm sitting out here in my field. What do I do to learn how to program this tractor to work for me?
Well, Nick, I mean, basically what you'll do is you'll go in and you'll add your client, your farm, and your field, and set your A/B line, and you know, it can work off the curve, it can work off a straight A/B line. If you know your latitude, longitude, and heading, you know, everything, you know.
And that's all on that computer screen right there. I'm just going to tell it. All right, so what if I'm looking out here at my field and I know, you know, I'm an animal lover. If there's a gopher tortoise burrow out in that field, can I tell the tractor before it starts that it's there so it doesn't run over it?
You can set flags and boundaries, and you can, you know, to let you know to stay away from certain areas, or to, you know, prevent, you know, damage to those areas.
Interesting. Could be a wetland, could be a boundary on the side there, a rock, a killdeer nest. Incredible. Pretty excellent idea to do that with those turtles.
Yes.
Thanks, man.
Yes.
All right, so Alan Martin with Flint Ag and Turf has hopped up in the cab with me. Alan, what's next?
All right, so now that we've set up our guidance line and we've got our equipment set up, our next important thing that we need to do is set up our documentation to tell this machine exactly what it is that we're out here in the field doing. Okay. So in this particular instance, we're going to set it up as if we are planting.
Okay.
So I've got my crop type in here as corn. I just put in a sample variety for corn 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a seeding rate. So we'll accept this information, and then once we get to the field, you know, we've got everything set up and we set that implement down, it's going to start recording, it's going to start counting our acreage, it's going to start counting our seeding rates, all of that information. And then whenever we finish this field, we know that we've got the accurate data that we need, and we can move on to the next operation after that.
Interesting. Smart little tractor here. Okay, so all of that cool data that we've just been talking about and entering has to go somewhere. Dusty Englewood Lassiter, what are we looking at here?
So this here is our modular telematics gateway. It's actually essentially a USB drive that stores all the data and acts as a cell phone modem so that it can broadcast the information that's collected from the tractor and the GPS system up to the satellites so that we can retrieve all that information on the operations center.
This is just incredible. I have a hard enough time finding my way to work every day, and this tractor knows way more than I do. It's incredible. So the final pieces of the puzzle, we got all that data saved onto that hard drive, and I'm joined by Lynn Perkins and Russ Wordley. Russ, we're going to come back to you in a second. Lynn, that data goes onto that hard drive, then what?
John Deere's done a good job of creating a medium, and that medium's called Operations Center. You set that Operations Center up yourself. You set the allowances, the parameters for who you share your data with or who you utilize, and at that point you can push that data to whoever you feel the need to send it to.
Now, that could include my wife, that could include my ag agent. I want to involve that ag and natural resource agent in Georgia to help troubleshoot, right?
That's correct, and make agronomic decisions based off that data.
I don't have to drive it to him. He can just get access to it or she.
Just sitting at the computer at the desk.
Incredible. It's all well and good, but knowing me, I would mess something up with that technology, something would go wrong, and Russ would come along. Russ, how could you help me with that mess up?
Well, in the past, you would call the service department if your tractor went down. But what if I told you that tractor will call the service department for you?
Really? Really?
Yeah, so using that MTG you talked about earlier, we have the ability to pull trouble codes straight from the machine, share it with your service department, share it with you as the grower, share it with whoever you need on the farm to know. Maybe it's just an air filter restriction. Maybe you got an air filter at the shop you need to put on. Go ahead and get you back up and running, because at the end of the day, it's all about that uptime.
And I don't have to leave my farm. I mean, that is just incredible to think about. You're probably going to see a tractor hosting the show next month because it's way smarter than I am. Guys, thanks so much for being out here with me today, and all the friends that were with us today. This was a great time. I hope you all learned a lot at home, and it opened your minds to what some of these pieces of equipment can do. You know what to do. When you're online, check out the Farm Monitor Facebook page, and while you're on there, check out the Ranger Nick Facebook page and check that out. We do those Friday Fly Days every Friday. Check us out online, and until next time, for the Farm Monitor, I'm Ranger Nick, reminding you, as always, that enthusiasm is contagious. So pass it on. Thanks so much for joining me from South Georgia. We'll look forward to seeing you right back here again next month. See ya.
Like a little kid, isn't he? Well, hope you enjoyed our reporter favorites of 2018. Here's to 2019.
Happy New Year, everybody. We'll see you next week right here on the Farm Monitor.